Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Everything good? You can hear and you can see. Welcome, everybody, to this IFBB Nordic Academy webinar. We are having a really interesting topic today, often overlooked topic, the mindset, the mental toughness, the mental coaching, and all of these in physique sports and bodybuilding. I'm Ville Isola. I'm your host today, the director of IFBB Nordic Academy. And today we will explore the psychological dimensions that are as fundamental to success in physique sports as physical training and nutrition. We will look how to build robust motivation and mental fortitude necessary not just to compete, but to excel and maintain well-being in this demanding field. And this session is designed to provide you with evidence-based insights that you can apply directly to your own training, or if you're a coach, to your athlete's preparation. We are having 1.5 hours. This is the interesting topic. Welcome again, and please note that this will be recorded. And if you are not watching this online and you are watching this recording, thank you for watching this recording. And yeah, first there's an introduction about me. Who doesn't know me yet? I'm the founder of IFBB Nordic Academy, also Secretary General of the IFBB Coaches Commission, and my task is to develop the coaching education in worldwide at the IFBB. I have studied fitness athletes 10 years almost. I have never competed myself, but I have coached roughly 50 athletes to the stage, and I have national and also international medalists as coaches. Now I don't have time to coach, I'm only teach and educate you. And my recent activities, greetings from North Macedonia. I was last weekend in North Macedonia, really nice city with really nice history. I really recommend you to go there as a vacation or competing. Nice people, really warm atmosphere and good place to be. And during this weekend, I'm gonna teach Australian coaches and personal trainers. I'm starting 2 a.m. next during next night, so I'm gonna working all weekend. But that's about me. So overall, I want you to share your experience on social media, take pictures, take videos, and we can all see as afterwards who was participating this webinar. Few words about the Nordic Academy. We are the leading authority in fitness and bodybuilding education in the Nordic region. Our task is to provide evidence-based research and bridging that gap from research to the field and give and educate coaches and athletes to perform better. And what is new at the Nordic Academy? Have you listened yet our podcasts? You can find them in Nordic language. Also, we have started to make our blog texts to Nordic language as well. This is part of our this year mission. We're gonna have all our courses, or at least course material, during this year in Nordic language. And for those who are who are already students for us, you will get that course material as well. So overall, our aim is to, once you have participated our course, you will always have the latest information, and the latest information from that course is always your availability available to you. And we don't believe that kind of a system that if you buy the personal trainer course in 2025 and if it modified and updated like next year that you need to buy it again to get those materials. No, you will get all of them. And I cannot resist say that we have really good offers until today, tomorrow. They will expire tomorrow. So if you are thinking that maybe personal trainer course would be good for you, please note that the course materials will be in Finnish, Estonian, Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish as well. And good bundle offers also, those are available tomorrow, and then they expired. This webinar is part of our inner circle, but this is exclusively free to everybody. And normally you can either buy one webinar or you can be a member of Inner Circle, so then they are free for you. So there is our upcoming webinar topics. So I hope see you all there as well in our upcoming topics. Really interesting topics ahead of us. Okay, this was the mandatory promotional thing and new information. What is happening here? And we are expanding a lot and going forward fast, and that's why I haven't uh, have time to answer all my emails yet, but I will get there, so be patient. Okay, let's go to today's topic, the importance of mindset in physique sports. The physique sports represent a unique intersection where extreme physical dedication meets profound psychological demands. And it's not just the hours in the gym or precision of your diet, it's about the strength of your mind. And beyond that meticulously sculpted physique, it is often mental fortitude that separates champions from contenders. And I must say, I have really see that in practice that even if you are having the best possible training program or nutrition plan, but if your mindset is not up to it, then you're not going to be a champion. So think about like a athlete who is facing a setback, perhaps unexpected judging outcome or slow phase in their progress during the competition preparation or development season. The one with resilient mindset sees a learning opportunity while another might see defeat. And this webinar is structured to equip you with the evidence-based psychological tools and strategies grounded in research for achieving peak performance and maintaining your well-being throughout your physique pursuits. So the psychological landscape for physique athletes is distinct. Firstly, there is aesthetic focus and subjective judging. Your your competitive outcome is based on appearance evaluated by judges, which introduce psychological pressure different from sports with objective metrics like time or score. Imagine training for months, achieving measurable physical improvements, yet the competitive reward can feel unpredictable due to shifting judging preferences or the lineup. You don't never know who's against you at, at the event or show. Secondly, these extreme body composition goals, which are common in physique sports and bodybuilding, the pursuit of high muscularity and extreme leanness require exceptional mental discipline. And isn't just a short sprint, it's a marathon for consistent effort. And thirdly, prolonged rigorous preparation. So, restrictive dieting, high training volumes, and the social sacrifices often necessary demand extraordinary psychological resilience. Think about the athlete in peak week managing extreme dietary changes and the anticipation of competitions. Finally, the heightened body image pressures. The intense focus on physical appearance creates vulnerability to body image dissatisfaction, even for experienced athletes. The athlete's body is, in essence, the performance, which can make critics feel very personal. And that is important to separate those. That is just part of the sport. That doesn't define you as an athlete or as a person. So today we are having five key objectives for this webinar. First, to understand the core psychological factors that influence your success and well-being as a physique athlete. And then second, you will learn evidence-based motivation strategies to cultivate sustainable motivation throughout your athletic development. Third, we aim to help you develop mental resilience tools, providing practical skills to enhance mental toughness and cope with those unique stressors of our sport. Fourth, we will evaluate body image and social media impact, critically assessing how these elements affect your psychology. And finally, we will explore effective coaching approaches, understanding the coach's role in fostering psychological well-being while driving peak performance. And by the end of this session, you will have a clearer understanding of these areas and actionable strategies to implement. So during this webinar, please write your question in the chat, and also we have time to questions and answers at the end. But in any time during the webinar, if you are having question, the best way is to write it down in the chat. So here is the roadmap of what we will cover. Part 1, fueling the fire, where will we delve into the motivation and self-determination theory. Part 2, forging unshakable will, and we focus on mental resilience, coping mechanisms. In part 3, mastering pressure, we will discuss stress management strategies. And part 4, beyond the mirror, we examine the body image and social media dynamics. And part 5, the coach's impact. So it's important to emphasize that the content of this webinar is firmly grounded in evidence-based, and everything what we will discuss is rooted in current scientific research from sports psychology and exercise science. And our focus is always providing you with practical, actionable strategies, techniques you can implement immediately in your training, competition preparation, or if you're a coach, in your interactions with athletes. And isn't just abstract theories, it's about concrete tools for real world applications. And I hope you will enjoy. So let's begin with fundamental question. What drives physique athletes? What drives bodybuilders? We are talking about motivation. Motivation is the psychological force that directs, energizes, and sustains your behavior towards a goal. For bodybuilders or physique athletes, it's critical driving force behind adherence to demanding training, nutrition, and lifestyle requirements. You know the dedication it takes, the early morning cardio, meal prepping, and the intense training sessions. So, interestingly, research, particularly from the lens of self-determination theory, shows that it is not just how much motivation you have, but what type of motivation that truly matters for long-term success and well-being. For example, are you driven by a genuine love for the process or more by external pressures like winning a trophy or social approval? And understanding the science of motivation can help you and your athletes maintain consistency through the challenging phases of competition preparation and recovery as well. To understand the motivation more deeply, we turn to self-determination theory, or SDT, and this is developed by the psychologists of Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. SDT is the leading theory of human motivation at the moment, personality development, and well-being. It provides comprehensive framework for understanding what drives individuals, including bodybuilders, to persist throughout significant challenges. And this SDT focus on degree to which your behavior is self-motivated and self-determined. Determined, yes. And its core, SDT proposes that all humans have initiate universal psychological needs. And when these needs are satisfied, they promote optimal motivation and psychological health, both critical factors for success and longevity in physique sports and bodybuilding. So, SDT identifies three basic psychological needs. First is autonomy. This is the feeling of having a sense of choice, volition, and self-endorsement of your actions. It's the feeling that I want to do this, not I have to do this. So for an athlete, this could mean having input into their training program or understanding the rationale behind their coach's plan, making them feel like an active participant. Second, the competence. This is about feeling effective, capable, and able to master challenges. It's the belief that I can do this. So, in physics, sports, and bodybuilding, competence can be built by seeing tangible process in muscle gain, fat loss, strength increases, or improvements in posing ability. Setting and achieving realistic process goals is key here. And the third psychological need is relate, relatedness. And this refers to feeling connected to, understood by, and cared for by the others. And it's the sense that I belong and I'm supported. And this could come from supportive coach, like-minded training partners who understand the lifestyle, or even engaging online community or good friends who are also make living the same kind of a lifestyle. So when these fundamental needs, autonomy, competence, and relatedness are satisfied, it fosters the most optimal types of motivation and promotes well-being in bodybuilders and physique athletes. Conversely, when these needs are frustrated, motivation quality suffers, potentially leading to negative outcomes like burnout, decreased performance, and psychological distress. So, SDT also describes motivation as existing on continuum, ranging from completely non-self-determined to completely self-determined. So this is known as motivation continuum. At the one end, we have A motivation, a lack of intention and motivation. An athlete here might feel like, why bother? Next, the extrinsic motivation coming from outside, which has several subtypes that become progressively more internalized, like a external regulation. Here, behavior is driven purely by external rewards or to avoid punishment. For example, competing only for a trophy or to avoid a coach's disapproval. Introjected regulation behavior is then driven by internal pressures like avoiding guilt or anxiety or to enhance ego. So an athlete might train ridiculously because they would feel guilty if they missed a session or they feel superior to others. Identified regulation, the athlete consciously values the behavior as personal important for achieving goal. For example, adhering to a strict diet because they understand it's necessary for stage condition, even it's not enjoyable. And this form of motivation is more self-determined because the individual identifies with the value of the activity. So this integrated regulation, this is the most autonomous form of extrinsic motivation. Here, behavior is fully aligned with the individual's self-concept and the core values. An athlete might see rigorous training and disciplined eating as like normal part of who they are as dedicated athlete. And finally, the most determined end is intrinsic motivation, engaging in behavior for its inherent satisfaction, interest, and enjoyment. And this is training because you genuinely love the process, the challenge, and the feeling of movement. So bodybuilders and physique athletes understanding where their motivation primarily lies on this continuum can help identify the areas for psychological growth and for cultivating more sustainable, high quality motivation. So SDT categorized these different types of motivation into two broader forms: autonomous motivation and controlled motivation. This autonomous motivation includes intrinsic motivation, integrated regulation, and identified regulation. When you are autonomously motivated, you feel a sense of choice and a personal endorsement of your actions. And this type of motivation is associated with numerous positive outcomes, typically greater persistence and effort, more positive effect and overall well-being, better adherence to demanding training and nutrition plan, and so on and so on. So on the other hand is this controlled motivation, which includes introjected regulation and external regulation. And this is when you feel pressured to act either by internal contingencies like guilt or by external forces like rewards or punishment. And this controlled motivation is all often linked with poorer long-term adherence to regimens and greater sense of pressure and tension, increased anxiety, and so on. So the clear goal for physique athletes and for coaches working with them is to cultivate more these autonomous motivation forms. And this means fostering an environment where training and competition are driven by personal values, enjoyment, integrated goals, rather than these controlled motivations like external pressure or internal anxieties. So we have discussed the three basic psychological needs. Now let's consider how satisfying these needs is particularly important for physique athletes, especially during the challenging phases. Autonomy support is about fostering that sense of choice and personal endorsement, and this is crucial during highly restrictive constant content content preparation phases. How can coaches provide this? By clearly explaining the rationale behind training and nutrition protocols and taking the athlete with planning the nutrition and training program in first place. And always offering choices, even small ones, like which of two similar exercise to perform or preferred food sources within macro targets. Next, the competence support involves helping athletes feel effective and capable. Everybody wants to feel capable. So this means setting realistic, achievable goals, providing constructive, behavior-focused feedback, not just criticism, and also acknowledging their effort and progress, especially when they face plateaus or setbacks. For example, if an athlete weight loss stalls, a competence support coach would collaboratively problem solve rather than just demanding more restrictions. Third, the relatedness support focuses on creating a sense of connection and belonging, and this can be achieved by fostering a supportive team or coach athlete environment and communication, showing understanding of the significant sacrifices which athletes are making to social life, dietary restriction, and also helping athletes to create meaningful connections within the physique sport or bodybuilding community. Because research consistently shows that satisfaction of these basic psychological needs is directly linked to enhanced in intrinsic motivation, better coping, and greater well being in athletes. So, the coach's interpersonal style has a profound impact on athletes' motivation and psychological experience, directly influencing basic psychological need satisfaction. So, this kind of autonomy support coaching is an so-called new style of coaching, and this controlling coaching is like an old style of coaching, but you need them both. But most of your coaching should be the autonomy support coaching. So this autonomy support coaching, you're providing choices, giving clear rationales for tasks, you are explaining why we are doing this, and also acknowledging the athlete's perspective and minimizing pressure and controlling language. When coaches adopt this style, it leads to increased satisfaction in those basic psychological need, which in turn fosters more autonomous motivation, better adherence, improved well-being, and so on. So it's clear that coaching approach significantly influence an athlete's motivational quality and their overall psychological experience in the sport. And I must say that all those bad stories about bodybuilding or physique sport that some former athlete is claiming that bodybuilding ruined my life, it was so demanding and that is not good sport. All those situations would have prevented if the coach would implicated the autonomy supportive coaching or athlete center coaching, which is the fundamental value of our education programs. Overall, the motivation isn't a fixed trait. It's dynamic and can change significantly throughout a competitive season or athletic career, and it's totally normal. So during the off season, this often allows for higher autonomy with more flexible training and dietary approaches, focusing on improvement and building muscle. So intrinsic motivation, like enjoyment of training, satisfaction from strength gains, and identified regulation, valuing the muscle growth for long-term goals, might be high. Early prep is I say that it's the most motivational time for athlete, but coach as well. Because typically during early prep, the athletes is still having lots of energy, and there's an excitement, there are lots of excitement around. Competition is coming, and I'm starting to dieting, and the goal setting is clear, and the initial progress, which can boost competence and reinforce motivation. During mid prep, it's often where the real challenge to motivation arise. Dietary restriction, hunger, all that fatigue, and this is where those basic psychological needs can be particularly challenged, and motivation might shift from autonomous from more controlled forms if not managed well. For example, an athlete might continue dieting not out of enjoyment, but to avoid guilty of going off plan. Peak week also typical where the motivation atmosphere changes, typically heightened stress, anticipation, and acute manipulation for the final push could affect on the motivational atmosphere. And last but not least, the post-competition phase, both physically and psychologically. Athletes might experience the post-competition blues, especially if their identity was heavily tied to the competition outcome. Reflection and refocusing are key here. So, prolonged contest preparation with its inherent restrictions and pressures can indeed challenge basic psychological needs and potentially shift motivation towards more controlled, less sustainable forms. So that's why, as a coach, your most important task is to enforce your athletes' intrinsic motivation. So let's now shift a little bit more in practical. For athletes, reflect on your why. I really like this question because those who are students of ours, I have asked this all always during every courses that understand your deeper reasons for competing, what truly drives you. And also it's really critical that once in a while you ask from yourself, what drives you as a coach or as an athlete? So align goals with core values. Ensure your competitive goals resonate with what is fundamentally important for you. For example, if you value health, ensure ensure that your prep aligns with healthy practices as much as possible, or overall that process. Focus on personal mastery and improvement. Concentrate on being better than your previous self rather than solely on beating others. This builds competence. You are competing the previous version of you. Find enjoyment in the process. Even during tough phases, try to identify aspects of training or preparation that you find engaging or satisfying. Monitor your motivation quality. Regularly check in with yourself. Are you feeling more pressured or more self driven? What needs might be feeling unmet? So, for coaches, implement autonomy support behaviors consistently. This means providing rationale, offering choices when feasible, acknowledging the athlete's perspective, and minimizing controlling language. Emphasize process goals over outcomes goals. Focus on controllable actions and efforts that lead to success rather than just win itself. And because you cannot control the win. So that's why it's not use or you shouldn't use your energy trying to control that. Foster a mastery climate, create environment where learning, effort, and personal improvement are valued and celebrated. Provide meaningful rationales. Explain the why behind training programs, dietary changes, and competition preparation strategies, for example. Offer choices with structure, even small choices, allowing athlete choose between two equal effective exercise or two equally same kind of nutrition choice. And overall, for both athletes and coaches, encouraging self-monitoring of basic psychological need satisfaction. Regularly discuss and assess whether needs for autonomy, competence, or relatedness are being met. Create a space for honest dialogue about challenges, motivation, and well being. And don't let motivational dips fester. Intervene with supportive strategies and celebrate small wins and progress, acknowledging and appreciate the steps along the way, not just the final outcome. And this builds competence and reinforce effort. And creating supportive community connections and finding the like-minded people as well. So now we shift our focus on mental resilience, what many might call mental toughness. So resilience is the fundamentally the ability to bounce back effectively from adversity, stress, or setbacks. It's not about avoiding stress or hardship, because in bodybuilding, stressors are inevitable. Instead, it's about your capacity to navigate these challenges successfully and maintaining functioning. So, physique sports and bodybuilding present a unique array of demands that require exceptional resilience. And think about this subjective nature of judging, where your hard work is evaluated based on aesthetic opinions. And it's just one judge's opinion. And there happens to be seven judges. And for example, in international competitions, judges from different countries, different culture, totally different backgrounds. So consider the frustration of training plateaus, also where progress seems to stall despite intense effort. You have done everything what your coach asked you to do, and you add these both to persistent body imaging pressure and the sheer length and intensity of contest preparation phases. So all of these actions and factors make resilience particularly crucial. So, but the good news is that the mental resilience is not an unchangeable. Innate trait you either have or don't. It is a trainable skill. So you can train your resilience. Just like systematically develop your physique, you can systematically develop your mental resilience through evidence-based psychological approaches. And we will explore those next. And about that comment, the 7 why exercise, where you continually ask why something is important, you go deeper and finally you get something emotional that you can get you through tough periods. Exactly. Exactly. Really good comment. So, understanding the differences between growth mindset and fixed mindset. And this is based on the work of Dr. Carol Dweck. Someone with the fixed mindset believes that their abilities, intelligence, and talents, like including athletic or physique potential, are largely static, predetermined traits. And because of this belief, they tend to avoid challenges, fearing failure might expose their limitations, and give up easily when faced setbacks, see efforts as fruitless or something only less talented people need. While this So the common fixed mindset in bodybuilding sports and physique sports might be, I'm not just genetically gifted enough for this, or I have hit my genetic limit, or and that's why I need to use doping. But conversely, someone with the growth mindset believes that the abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, hard work, effective strategies, and learning from mistakes. And this belief leads them to embracing challenges as opportunities for growth, persist through setbacks, viewing them as a part of learning process, see effort as essential path to mastery, and their internal dialogue might be, I can improve this aspect of my physique with consistent and focused work. Or this critic shows me that what I need to work on next. So cultivating a growth mindset, it's absolutely foundational for resilience in bodybuilding. Athletes who adopt this perspective view setbacks not as proof of their fixed limitations, but as valuable learning opportunities. And we have science to back this up that age is not limiting factor for fat loss or muscle growth. And even there is this anecdotal concept of this genetic limit of muscle mass. But has someone ever seen that kind of person who cannot gain more muscle mass? I haven't ever seen through my 15 years of career of coaching. Yes, it stalls or not stalls, but it's going slower, but it never stops. So totally, you can do it. Of course, we need to understand the when we are talking about the world championships, we need to understand, of course, our genetics, how our bones are structured. That will affect, of course, and not necessarily with wide hip. That kind of person doesn't be a champion for bikini, and also with small joints, small bones, that kind of person cannot be the champion in bodybuilding necessarily. But overall, this growth mindset is really important, what you need to foster as a coach and an athlete as well. So, when faced a stressor, such as critical feedback from judges or training plateau, our psychological response isn't automatic. It follows what we call the appraisal coping outcome cascade. First is this appraisal. This is how an athlete interprets or evaluates a stressor. Is it perceived as a challenge that can be overcome and lead to growth, or as a threat that is overwhelming, potentially harmful? Do they see it as controllable or uncontrollable? And this initial appraisal directly influences the coping strategies the athletes choose to employ. The coping strategy is the approach they use to manage this stressor and their emotional reaction to it. Finally, coping strategy shapes the psychological outcome, the resulting emotional and behavioral response. So let's take an example from physics sport. Subjective judging feedback. If an athlete appraises negative feedback as uncontrollable threat, the judges just don't like my look and there's nothing I can do about it. They might use avoidance coping, like ignoring the feedback, or maladaptive emotion focused coping, like excessive rumination or even anger. And this is likely to lead increased anxiety, frustration, and feeling of helplessness. However, if another athlete appraises the same feedback as controllable challenge, okay, the judges said my condition could be sharper in my glutes. I can work on that with specific diet and training adjustments. So they are more likely to use problem focused coping or adaptive emotion focused coping. And this can lead to learning, adaptation, and sense of empowerment. So this cascade just highlights that the stressor itself, but our interpretation and subsequent response that determine the ultimate impact. So how to build that appraisal coping outcome cascade? We can broadly classify coping styles in three types: problem focused coping, emotion focused coping, and avoidance coping. So, problem focused coping involves direct efforts to manage, alter, or eliminate the source of the stressor itself. It's about tackling the problem head on. While emotion focused coping, this strategy aims to regulate the emotional response to stressor, especially when the stressor itself is difficult or impossible to change directly. And these strategies can be adaptive or maladaptive. Avoidance coping, this involves trying to disengage from the stressor or the thoughts and feelings associated with it. So, effective coping often involves a flexible combination of these styles depending on nature of the stressor. So, let's consider some common stressors in bodybuilding. Subjective judging, effective coping, instead of getting defensive, reframe the feedback as information, even it's hard to hear. Focus on controllable aspects of your presentation, your posing, your condition, your stage presence. Seek specific critiques you can act upon. And this is a mix of adaptive emotion focused and problem focused coping. Stressor, training plateaus. Engage in problem solving. Analyze your training and nutrition. Are you due for deload? Do you need to change variables like volume, intensity, or exercise selection? Focus on your effort and making small incremental improvements. Seek advice if you are stuck. Next stress, dietary restriction. Plan your meals meticulously to avoid being caught off guard. Find enjoyable low-calorie food options and recipes to reduce monotony. Use distraction techniques when cravings are high. Go a walk, listen to music, watch a movie. Keep your long-term goal in focus to maintain motivation. And this combines problem-focused and emotion-focused coping. So, body imaging concerns. Actively challenge negative thoughts about your body. Are they realistic? Are they helpful? Focus on your body's performance and functionality, not just appearance. Seek objective feedback from your coach rather than relying solely on the mirror or social media comparisons. So, research shows that mastery oriented and task focused approaches to coping, those that emphasize learning, improvement, and control factors, are linked to reduced burnout and better psychological well being. And the most effective athletes don't just have one go to coping strategy, they developed flexible repertoire of strategies that they can deploy based on specific stressor of the context. So, given that resilience is trainable, what interventions can we use systemically build it in physique athletes? There are several evidence-based approaches. Psychological skills training, PST, a cornerstone of sports psychology, which involves systematically teaching mental skills to enhance performance and well-being. Goal setting, imaginary mental rehearse, positive self-talk, cognitive restructuring, arousal regulation techniques. Then the mindfulness-based interventions, and these interventions focus on cultivating present moment awareness and not non-judgmental acceptance of thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. Instead of trying to suppress or change difficult thoughts, like I'm too tired to train, mindfulness can teach you to observe them without getting carried away by them. And research shows significant benefits for athletes, including reduced anxiety and enhanced performance with mindfulness based interventions. Positive psychology approaches like emphasizing strengths, gratitude practice, optimism training, meaning focus interventions. And these evidence based interventions can be used to implement by coaches or sport psychology professionals to build mental resilience in physique athletes. But I think that the black and white description or exercise is just once in a while stop and ask why I'm doing this. Am I doing this because I want to do this by myself? If is this something what I have dreamed on? And remembering that, are you talking to yourself like you are talking your best friend? Because typically you are talking much critically for yourself than your best athlete. Or no, best athlete, best friend. Build mental resilience. So a little deeper in these mindfulness interventions. Present moment awareness, cultivating awareness of your thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensation without judgments help you stay centered, especially during challenging training sessions or stressful competition moments. For instance, if you are feel a wave of anxiety backstage, mindfulness allows you to acknowledge that feeling. Okay, anxiety is here, and without letting you overwhelm with that. Mindful eating, particularly valuable during restrictive phases of dieting. It involves paying full attention to experience of eating, the taste, the texture, the smell of your food, and as well as your body's hunger and fullness cues. Mindful eating can enhance satisfaction even with limited food choices and helps maintain a healthier relationship with food. Do not watch TV or any YouTube shows phone, just concentrating, eating, the smell, the food, and the texture, and that is a powerful tool as well. Breathing technique, like focusing on the sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body. And this can be incredibly powerful. Fundamentally, this different mindfulness exercise helps individuals detach from unhelpful or negative thoughts. I'm not lean enough. That competitor looks way better than me. So this creates psychological space, allowing you to respond more effectively and thoughtfully to challenges rather than reacting impulsively based on fleeting thoughts or emotions. A few words about the neurobiological foundations of resilience. We know, based on brain's research, that brains are not static, and this resilience involves neuroplasticity. So the brain a remarkable ability to reorganize itself, forming new neural connections and adaptive its structure and function in response to experiences, including stress and adversity. And this means your brain can change and adapt to become more resilient once you make those exercises and you're focusing on making the resilience better. So, how you can practically build your resilience, embrace challenges, actively shift your perspective to view challenges not as threats to be avoided, but as opportunities for growth and learning. And this is the central of growth mindset. When you face setback like not blazing as well as you hoped, ask what I can learn from this to improve next time. They'll develop coping strategies. Do not rely on just one way of dealing with stress. Build a diverse repertoire of adaptive coping strategies, both problem focused and emotion focused, that you can apply flexibly depending on the specific stressor. Practice your self compassion, and this is about treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and support during setbacks or failures that you would offer a good friend. Replace harsh self criticism with understanding and supportive self talk. Or, for instance, if you missed a workout, instead berating yourself, acknowledge that life happens and focus on getting back on track with next session. And of course, build support network. Coaches, training partners, friends, and family who understand and support your journey. Having people you can turn to for encouragement, advice, or just listening ear is a powerful buffer against stressor and adversity. The pressure cooker. Bodybuilding can often feel like. So, how to effectively manage stress? First, understand the stress is the psychological response that occurs when the demands placed upon you exceed your perceived resources to cope with those demands. So, bodybuilding presents a multitude of unique stressors that we have already discussed. So understand, it's normal phenomena. The impact of unmanaged chronic stress on an athlete can be significant. It can impair performance, hinder recovery, and negatively affect overall well-being. Typical stressors for bodybuilders, physique athletes, contest preparation, peak week itself, fear of failure, financial costs, subjective judging, body imaging concerns, social comparison, time commitment. So, how our body react to this? The autonomic nervous system plays a key role. It has two main branches, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And there's also hormonal response. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are common hormonal response due to stress and cortisol as well. So indeed, prolonged contest preparation often leads elevated baseline cortisol levels with some, not everybody, and that can alter the heart rate, which can be measured with a specific device, and you can that way monitor your autonomic nervous system. Have you already recovered? But nervous system is the one where we can see that is someone stressed or not. Competitive anxiety, specific type of stress for bodybuilders. And this is just an not a general stress, is characterized by worry, apprehension, and psychological arousal, specifically related to competitive situation. And we can break competitive anxiety down into two main components. Cognitive anxiety, this relates to the mental aspect, the negative thoughts, worries, self-doubt that can plague athletes before and during competitions. Examples include thoughts like, what if I don't place well? Or I don't look good as the other competitors? And typically my question for as a coach is, what then happens? Tell me what then happens. So once I force my athletes to rehearse that beforehand, what really happens when you placed on the last? Tell me. Tell me what you're gonna do next then when you placed on last. What happens next week? What happens next month? And also tell me what happens when you win. When you win all the trophies. So once athlete has already rehearsed that, trained that situation, it doesn't come as that big stressor for him or her. Really important. So, yeah, other somatic anxiety refers to perceived psychological arousal. The physical symptoms of anxiety, like racing heart, butterflies in the stomach, muscle tension, sweaty palms. Crucially, this interpretation matters. The same level of psychological arousal or cognitive worry can be interpreted differently by athletes. Some might find a certain level of nerves to be facilitative, meaning it energizes them, helps them focus, while others, the same feelings might be detrimental, impairing their performance. So you need to know how they affect you or your athletes. Fortunately, there are several effective stress management interventions that can and are well supported by research, and they can help athletes manage this competitive anxiety and overall stress. Mindful, what we already discussed, biofeedback, using electronic devices to provide real time feedback about that central nervous system, heart rate. So you can really see that is your body in a stressful state. Pre-performance routines, structured sequences of thoughts and actions that athletes systematically perform before a competition. And these are designed to enhance consistency, manage anxiety, improve focus. So there are manners. But if athlete is doing always something in the same way, going on backstage, putting always his backpack somewhere near to the uh, wall, and those same manners. So it's a good way to, when you are doing the same thing every time, you are improve your competence, you are improving your coherence. So it means that you are controlling the situation when you are doing the same things what you all have done multiple times before, and they're always going in the same way. So make that kind of pre-performance routines for yourself as an athlete. And as a coach, you should encourage your athlete to do or develop those pre-performance routines. Also, cognitive behavioral therapy offer a range of techniques for identifying and modifying maladaptive thoughts pattern and behaviors that contribute to stress and anxiety. And this includes skills like cognitive restructuring, challenging and changing negative thoughts, positive self-talk, and relaxation training. Deep dive for this briefly, these pre-performance routines. Purpose, increased consistency, effectively manage cognitive anxiety and enhance focus. And these physical components, while there is a specific actions you take, this could include a specific sequence of pumping exercises on backstage, hydration protocols, final 10 touch-ups, or pre-front or through of posing sequences. Cognitive elements includes imaginary or visualization. Like I said, imagine what happens if you win or if you lose. And emotional regulation, deep breathing, exercise to calm nerves, brief progressive muscle relaxation or mindfulness techniques. So these should be individualized to the athlete, well practiced, and adaptable to different competition environments or unexpected changes. Developing those pre-performance routines are important. Okay, so to conclude the practical or the stress management, focus on controllable aspects. You cannot control judges' ultimate decisions or who else shows up to the competitions. But you can control your preparation, your posing practice, your adherence to your plan, and your mindset. Shift your energy to these controllable factors. And this methodical preparation throughout systematic preparation reduce uncertainty, which is a major source of stress. Sorry, 1 minute. Sorry. So, consistent practice of pre-performance routines, regular mindfulness, breathing exercises, positive self-talk, and of course, prioritizing sleep and recovery. These all help you manage the stress. Basic things you already know, but it's good to say them aloud. So, lastly, before the coach's role, let's briefly discuss the body imaging and social media. Body imaging is multifaceted construct. It encompasses your perceptions, thoughts, and feelings about your own body. So bodybuilders, body imaging is absolute central to their sport experience as the activity is inherently focused on aesthetics and physical appearance. And this intense focus makes body imaging double-edged sword. On one hand, seeing positive changes in your physique through hard work can be a powerful source of motivation and pride. While on the other hand, this constant scrutiny can also be a significant source of distress and can even contribute to psychopathological such as body dissatisfaction, muscle dysmorphia, or eating disorder. And I think that once you have been bitten on bodybuilding bug, so called, you are never fully happy with your body imagine, and you always want to be bigger. And I think that that is even a good thing, and that is a normal thing, and that is something what it's just because of this sport. But of course, when it start affecting your body or your life negatively, that is not good thing. So we need to draw a line where when it's manageable, when it's normal, and where it's start causing troubles. But understanding the complex relationship between participation in bodybuilding and body imaging is essential for maintaining psychological well-being during that journey. Prevalence of body imaging concerns. So this is notably high, highlighting the unique pressure of sport. Research indicates that very high of percentage of physique athletes, some studies even suggest that 85% are having some form of body imaging dissatisfaction. And I must admit that once I've been bitten on the bodybuilding bug, I haven't been fully happy with my body image. And like I said, I think that is a normal thing. That is some, that is also good thing in that way that it drives you. It's your one of your source of motivation. But of course, as a coach, we need to understand or trying at least to see what is normal and what is start causing negative things to our client's life. Yeah, maybe times increased risk in bodybuilding, but like in any other weight-bearing sport, it's safe to say that we are at the risk in bodybuilding to have disordered eating or imagine symptoms or muscle dysmorphia or something like that. But that is something what you need as a coach, you need to discuss with your athlete a lot. And also as an athlete, you need to have that kind of communication with your coach that you can discuss about it. And yeah, really good comment that it's not about revamping the body imaging issue, but managing the level to avoid it becoming compulsive uh, or disorder. Exactly. Briefly on this muscle dysmorphia, uh, I think yeah, every bodybuilder have some level of muscle dysmorphia. So it's like a brief description for this that muscular individual see himself or herself small non-muscular individual. Even it's a huge mass of muscle mass. So he see or she see herself as a normal person. Significant distress or impairment and these characteristic behaviors, mirror checking, waking, measuring. I'm doing that all the time, but I don't still claim that I would have muscle dysmorphia. I just have been bitten by bodybuilding bug. Also, there is a gender-specific patterns in body imaging. Some differences. Typically, males are having more this muscle dysmorphia and particularly focused on upper body development, while females they drive maybe both for thinness and muscularity as well. But it's really hard to say because we don't have that kind of study. But as a coach, it's really important that you discuss with your client with that. So the social media. We cannot discuss body imaging in the modern era without addressing the social media. These platforms have become influential in shaping how athletes perceive their bodies and their success. Social media provides endless opportunities for social comparison. Bodybuilders are frequently exposed to idolized, often filtered or digitally altered images of other athletes and fitness influencers, and this constant upward comparing oneself to those perceived as better, can fuel body dissatisfaction and negative self-appraisal, creating unrealistic standard. This fit inspiration content intended to inspire fitness and healthy lifestyle, while it can be motivation for some individual, research shows that for others, particularly those with existing vulnerabilities, fit inspiration can contribute to unrealistic expectations, feelings of guilt, and even compulsive exercise behaviors or using doping or something like that. And also the algorithm effects. Social media algorithms are designed to show you more of what you engage with. So if you are already looking those physique content, the algorithm will likely amplify your exposure to similar and potentially more extreme or more harmful content related to physique ideals, training, and dieting. And this can create disordered perceptions of what is normal and attainable or healthy. So the combination of poor body image and intense social media pressure can lead to cascade of negative consequences that affect multiple areas of athletes' life. Clinical disorder, psychological distress, behavioral issues, social impairment, risk behaviors. So, what are the strategies? Cognitive behavioral therapy, dissonance-based intervention, and it aims to challenge the internal internalization of unrealistic appearance ideals. They often involve having athletes critically evaluate and articulate arguments against these sport-specific pressures, thereby creating internal dissonance that motivates a shift in their own beliefs. For example, an athlete might write about the negative consequences of pursuing an extreme physique at all costs. Media literacy training. This is crucial in the age of social media to highlight what is normal, what is not, what is done with doping, what is not, what is natural, and so on. And self-compassion approaches teach athletes to treat themselves with kindness, understanding, and acceptance of regarding their body concerns. And of course, the highlighting that they can really change their their body and they really can affect to it by adhering nutrition plan, training plan, and so on. So the coach's crucial role. So I want to congratulate you all who are coaches. You have selected one of the most difficult jobs in the world because you need to be expert in many fields, in nutrition, in training, but here as well in mindset and well-being. The psychological influences, your communication style, feedback, and environment, what you create, significantly impact the clients and athletes' psychological experience, their motivation, their resilience, and overall well being. And effective coaches find delicate balance between pushing or for performance excellence and maintaining the psychological safety and health and overall well-being of their athletes. So the most effective coaching integrates psychological principles into daily training practice rather than treating mental skills some some only professional or specialized another individual. No, it's you should have these mental exercises just like you are having squat in your training program for your athletes. So because the coach has the potential to either greatly enhance athletes' psychological well-being, and we are not talking about some magical things what you can only learn like in like in the mountains of somewhere. It's the basic thing. Mostly discussing, asking, and tell your client that, whoa, stop. What do you think about that yourself? How do you do? And yeah, like we have discussed those exercises, what we can take to build resilience or manage stress. Mostly it's just paying attention. Pay attention for those. It's that simple. So I think, and in my opinion, that the effective communication and feedback, it's most important thing. Build rapport and trust. The Definitely the bedrock. Establish relationship based on mutual respect, understanding, and psychological safety. Get to know your client or athlete as a whole person, not just some bodybuilder. And this open environment encourages honest communication about challenges. Practice active listening. When an athlete is speaking, give them your full attention. Do not swipe your phone at the same time. Ask clarifying questions to ensure understanding and reflect back what you hear to show your comprehend their perspective. Provide constructive feedback and check in regularly. Once in a week, ask, ask about their psychological well being, their stress levels, motivation, and how they are managing the demands of preparation, for example. Create space for clients and athletes to express concerns before they escalate into some major issues. So, takeaway from this, let's recap key takeaways. Your mindset is not fixed. Mental skill like resilience, focus, and motivation can be systematically developed through practices and different exercises. Aim to cultivate motivation that comes from within, driven by your personal values, enjoyment, and sense of choice. Build mental resilience. Develop your capacity to bounce back from adversity through strategies like cultivating growth mindset, employing adaptive coping strategies, and engaging in psychological skills training. Implement effective stress management. Understand the stressor and use evidence-based interventions like those pre-performance routines, mindfulness to navigate that pressure and nurture your healthy body imaging. Approach body imaging pressure with critical awareness, practice self-compassion, focus your body's functionality, and develop healthy social media habits. And mastering these mental aspects, it is as important as mastering the physical components of bodybuilding, like or physique sports. Now, I have a little overdue my time. I'm sorry about that, but I hope you enjoy, and I hope you get something new ideas or some new information. So if you now have questions, please ask, write them in the chat. But if you now don't have any questions, you can send me an email or like direct message in Instagram or whatever is best for you. But I want to thank you for your attention and good comments. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for feedback. I know quite much different terms because sports psychology is a totally own science, but you can watch this as a recording as many times as you want, and you will get the this webinar material as PDF, so you have time to learn. Take your pace and to learn on time with your own pace. Thank you for your attention. Please give me a feedback to make this even better. And I wish you a really good weekend. And I'm start preparing for my teaching the Australian personal trainers. And we will see you next time. So thank you. This session is over.